The Galactic Council arrived with the weight of centuries behind them. Their emissaries, draped in ceremonial robes of power and dominance, stood before humanity's representatives. These emissaries, with a cold, calculated confidence, demanded tribute, Earth's most valuable resources, its technology, and above all, the subjugation of its people. The Council had done this before. Other worlds had knelt, willingly or not, to the superior force that ruled the stars. They spoke as if Earth's compliance was a foregone conclusion, as if the very idea of defiance was a relic of a bygone era. Submit, the lead emissary intoned, voice hollow and authoritative. Or face the consequences of your resistance. In a hidden, fortified facility, humanity's leadership gathered. The atmosphere was tense, filled with unease and the unspoken fear of the unknown. They were the world's most powerful figures, politicians, generals, and scientists, yet they had never faced a threat of this magnitude. The air was thick with the weight of their responsibility. Some, nervous and calculating, immediately suggested appeasement. "We're not ready for this kind of war," one argued. "We don't stand a chance against the Council's forces." There was fear in their voice, the fear of a civilization staring into the abyss. They pointed to examples of worlds destroyed for daring to defy the Council. Others, however, were furious at the idea of submission. "To comply is to surrender not just our resources but our future," another leader retorted. "If we bow now, we'll never rise again." There was something in their eyes, resolve, defiance, something primal and indomitable. They spoke not just of resources but of the human spirit, of the need to protect the essence of what it meant to be human. As the debate continued, the room fell into an anxious silence. The enormity of the decision pressed down on them. Every option felt perilous. Submit, and become yet another nameless species lost to the Council's control. Resist, and risk annihilation. The weight of the world rested on their shoulders, yet no solution seemed clear. Then, an old diplomat, his face weathered by years of negotiation and battle, slowly stood. The room turned to him, waiting. He did not speak right away, but when he did, his voice was calm, steady, and absolute. "No." That single word hung in the air, resonating like a thunderclap in the silence. It was simple, yet it carried the force of 1,000 refusals. The leaders of Earth, shaken by the boldness, looked at one another in silent agreement. There would be no tribute. There would be no submission. The decision was final. Earth had chosen defiance. That refusal, that single word, was sent as a message across the stars. The Galactic Council, in their arrogance, had expected fear. Instead, they received defiance. Confusion spread among the species loyal to the Council, disbelief among those who had long been subjugated. Could Earth, a relatively young and untested species, really be so bold? The Council's emissaries, their cold expressions flickering with a brief moment of disbelief, stood frozen. Then, without another word, they turned and left, their parting words heavy with implied menace. "You will regret this decision," one of them whispered before they disappeared into the void. But it was too late. The word had been spoken. The decision made. As the emissaries departed, the tension in the room didn't ease. If anything, it deepened. Humanity had cast its die. There would be no going back. Every person in that room knew the consequences were coming, and they would be severe. The Council had demanded tribute, but humanity had responded with its own demand, freedom. Now, the real test would begin. The Galactic Council erupted with fury when the message from Earth arrived. They had conquered countless worlds, brought entire star systems to heel, yet this fledgling species dared to say no to their demands. It wasn't just defiance, it was an insult to their authority. The Council saw Earth's refusal as a threat to their iron grip on the galaxy. If humanity could reject their demands, what was to stop other species from doing the same? They had to make an example of Earth, one so devastating that no other world would ever dare follow their lead. In response, the Council mobilized an armada of staggering proportions. Ships of all shapes and sizes, some the size of cities, others built purely for destruction, were dispatched toward Earth. Among them were planet crackers, vessels equipped with the power to reduce worlds to rubble. The plan was simple: overwhelm Earth's defenses, demand submission, and if refused again, obliterate the planet. The message would be clear: defiance leads to destruction. Meanwhile, on Earth, there was no panic. On the surface, life continued as normal. Yet beneath the calm exterior, humanity's greatest minds were hard at work. Over the years, Earth had prepared, though few outside the highest levels of power knew just how far that preparation had gone. While the galaxy viewed Earth as a minor player, humanity had been developing technologies that far surpassed what was known. The advancements were staggering: AI-driven warships, energy shields capable of deflecting most known weapons, and an arsenal of countermeasures designed to exploit the weaknesses of even the most advanced alien fleets. For years, Earth had kept its advancements hidden, concealing the true extent of its technological prowess from prying eyes. They had monitored the galactic landscape, learning from the mistakes of other species, knowing that their time would come. Now, with the Council's armada on its way, Earth's preparations would be tested. As humanity's leaders convened once more, the mood was different this time. Fear had given way to determination. The Council was coming, but Earth would not face them alone. Unbeknownst to the rest of the galaxy, humanity had formed a secret alliance with an outlawed faction, a group that had once challenged the Council's rule and been nearly wiped out. This faction, scattered across the galaxy, possessed unique technologies and tactical knowledge that Earth had quietly integrated into its own systems. They had waited in the shadows, and now, with humanity's defiance, they were prepared to emerge. When the Council's armada finally arrived, they were met with silence. Earth's skies were calm, and there was no sign of fear from the planet below. Confident in their superiority, the Council's fleet began its approach, surrounding Earth. They expected a swift conquest, a show of power, a quick submission. After all, no world had ever stood against the Council's full might and survived. But as their ships closed in, Earth's defenses activated. It began with a series of countermeasures. Stealth ships, previously undetected by the Council, emerged from hidden positions in Earth's atmosphere. These vessels, equipped with advanced cloaking and precision weaponry, targeted the Armada's key ships, disabling them before they could react. Energy weapons, far beyond what the Council had expected, tore through their shields, causing chaos among their ranks. The Council had expected a primitive defense at best. What they encountered was a well-coordinated assault that left them reeling. Earth's fleet, although smaller, was vastly more advanced than they could have imagined. AI-controlled warships moved with precision, targeting the weaknesses in the Council's ships with surgical efficiency. Ground-based defense systems launched missiles that bypassed the Council's energy shields, striking at their engines and weapon systems. As the battle raged on, the Council's fleet found itself in disarray. Their commanders, so used to overwhelming their enemies, struggled to adapt to the new reality. Humanity wasn't just resisting, they were winning. The Council's arrogance had blinded them. They had viewed humanity as nothing more than an upstart species, but now they were forced to reckon with the truth. Earth's technological advancements, combined with their newfound allies, had turned the tide of the battle. The Armada, once so confident in its superiority, now found itself on the defensive. The sheer shock of humanity's capabilities rippled through the fleet. Reports of entire Council ships being disabled by a single volley of Earth's energy weapons sent waves of fear through their ranks. They had come to crush a primitive world, but instead, they were facing a force unlike anything they had anticipated. In the chaos of the battle, Earth's commanders remained calm. Military veterans, scientists, and AI systems worked together in perfect harmony, coordinating strikes with precision. There was no hesitation, no second-guessing. Every move was calculated, every attack designed to exploit the Council's weaknesses. Earth had waited for this moment, and they would not waste it. As the Council's forces scrambled to regroup, Earth's defense continued to press the advantage. Stealth fighters darted in and out of the Armada, targeting critical systems and leaving devastation in their wake. Ground-based lasers, fired from strategic locations across the planet, cut through the Council's ships, leaving them vulnerable to further attacks. The Armada, once so vast and unstoppable, was now on the verge of collapse. The Council, used to quick and decisive victories, had never faced such fierce resistance. Their ships, designed to instill fear and submission, were being torn apart by a force they had gravely underestimated. By the time the Council realized the full extent of their miscalculation, it was too late. Humanity had revealed its hidden power, and the Council's armada was in retreat. The message was clear: Earth was no mere target. They had demanded tribute, but humanity had answered with strength. The tide of galactic power had shifted, and the Council would never see Earth the same way again. The Council's armada, vast and seemingly invincible, quickly found itself on the defensive. Earth's forces, far from the primitive resistance the Council had expected, attacked with unprecedented precision. The tactics used by humanity were unlike anything the Armada had faced before. They weren't just launching straightforward assaults. They were exploiting every weakness, every blind spot in the Council's strategy. It was as if humanity had studied them for years, and in truth, they had. Humanity's AI-driven drones struck first, moving with a speed and efficiency that left the Council's ships scrambling. These drones weren't just tools of destruction. They were adaptable, learning the patterns and strategies of their enemies within moments, targeting the most vulnerable points of each vessel. EMP pulses rippled through the Armada, disabling entire ships before they could fire a shot. Communications within the Council's fleet were thrown into chaos, commanders suddenly unable to coordinate their defenses as their systems failed one by one. On the ground, the battle was just as intense. Earth's key cities and installations were fortified with technologies that the Council had never anticipated. Augmented human soldiers, outfitted with advanced exoskeletons, fought off alien invaders with a combination of strength and strategy. Experimental defense mechs, towering machines of war, held the line against alien ground forces, turning what the Council had expected to be a swift invasion into a brutal stalemate. Every time the Council's forces tried to gain ground, they were met with a counterattack that pushed them back. Amid the chaos of battle, a shift occurred, one that even the most experienced Council commanders couldn't have predicted. As Earth's forces continued to hold their ground, a new fleet suddenly appeared on the battlefield. These ships were unlike anything in the Council's armada, sleek, deadly, and ancient. They carried the markings of a long-lost faction, one that had been banished from the galaxy centuries ago. To the Council, they were a ghost from a past they thought long buried. It became clear that Earth had not been fighting alone. Humanity had secretly forged an alliance with these outlawed warriors, a faction that had once challenged the Council's rule and been nearly wiped out in the process. Now they were back, and their timing was perfect. The arrival of this new force caught the Council completely off guard. Their ships, though smaller in number, were equipped with advanced technology that rivaled the Council's own. Their battle-hardened fleets descended upon the Armada with a fury that had been building for centuries. Together, humanity and their allies coordinated their attacks with lethal efficiency. Earth's ingenuity and the outlaw faction's experience combined to create a force that the Council's fleet simply couldn't match. The once unstoppable Armada was now in disarray, its commanders struggling to keep pace with the onslaught. Battleships that had once dominated the skies were being torn apart by the precision strikes of stealth bombers and coordinated attacks from the outlaw fleet. As the Council's forces faltered, the news of humanity's resistance began to spread across the galaxy. The broadcast of Earth's defiance reached far beyond the battlefield, inspiring a ripple effect among other species. For centuries, the Council had ruled through fear, crushing any opposition before it could gain traction. But now, the galaxy had seen that it was possible to stand against them, and win. Species that had lived in the shadow of the Council's oppression for generations began to rise up. Planets that had been enslaved for millennia seized this moment to strike back. What had started as humanity's war for survival quickly transformed into a galaxy-wide rebellion. Uprisings broke out on multiple Council-controlled worlds, stretching the Council's resources thin. On planet after planet, species that had once cowered in fear found the courage to fight back, inspired by humanity's defiance and the realization that the Council was not invincible. The Council, already overwhelmed by the battle against Earth, now found itself facing rebellion from within. What had been a single battle to subdue humanity was turning into a full-blown galactic revolution. The Council's forces, spread across the galaxy, were stretched to their breaking point as they tried to contain the uprisings while still maintaining their assault on Earth. But humanity and their allies weren't done yet. With the Council's forces in disarray and rebellions breaking out across the galaxy, Earth launched a full-scale counterattack. It was time to push the advantage. The combined fleets of Earth and the outlaw faction began to strike back against the remnants of the Council's armada, targeting their command ships and taking out their strongest defenses. The Council's remaining forces, already weakened and demoralized, crumbled under the pressure. Humanity's counterattack wasn't just about winning the battle, it was about sending a message. The era of the Galactic Council's unchecked dominance was over. Earth's defiance had sparked something far greater than a mere rebellion. It had shifted the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Council, once the unchallenged rulers of the stars, now found themselves on the brink of collapse, their empire crumbling from within. As the final waves of the counterattack crashed against the Council's fleet, it became clear that the galaxy would never be the same. The once dominant Galactic Council, a body that had ruled with an iron fist for millennia, now stood on the brink of collapse. Their forces, once thought invincible, had been decimated by humanity and its unexpected allies. For the first time in countless years, the Council was vulnerable, and the cracks in their once unified front began to show. Internal divisions erupted as their members, desperate to maintain control, bickered over the next steps. Some called for peace, recognizing that their grip on the galaxy was slipping, while others, fueled by pride and fury, demanded the total annihilation of Earth. This internal discord weakened them further. What was once an organized and unstoppable force now stumbled under the weight of indecision and infighting. The Council had been built on fear and unquestioned dominance, but now, with the galaxy watching humanity's unexpected rise, that foundation was crumbling. The unity that had allowed the Council to rule for so long was falling apart, and the galaxy knew it. In a last-ditch effort to regain control, the remnants of the Council's fleet gathered for one final, desperate assault. The remaining ships, fewer in number but still formidable, regrouped around the Council's most powerful vessels. This was their last stand, a do-or-die attempt to crush the rebellion before it spread too far. They believed that if they could break Earth and its allies in this final confrontation, they might still salvage their rule. Humanity, now united not just with their outlawed allies but with several species that had joined the rebellion, prepared for the decisive battle. It wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about ending the Council's reign once and for all. The galaxy was watching, and Earth knew that the outcome of this battle would shape the future for generations. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Council's fleet, though diminished, was still formidable, armed with advanced weaponry and the desperation of those fighting for survival. But Earth, along with its allies, had learned, adapted, and grown stronger with each confrontation. Humanity's tactics, once seen as unpredictable and unconventional, had proven devastatingly effective. Massive warships filled the skies, their weapons lighting up the void as they clashed in a display of cutting-edge technology and tactical brilliance. Earth's flagship, a marvel of both human ingenuity and alien technology, led the charge. At its helm was a newly developed energy weapon, one capable of penetrating the Council's most advanced shields. As the battle reached its climax, this weapon was brought to bear against the Council's command ship, the heart of their fleet. In one decisive strike, the energy weapon unleashed a devastating pulse, disabling the command ship and leaving it vulnerable. With their leadership crippled, the remaining Council forces faltered. What was once a mighty fleet now scattered in disarray. The final blow had been struck, and the Council, once the rulers of the galaxy, were forced to surrender. As the dust settled, the truth behind the Council's aggression was finally revealed. It hadn't just been about tribute or resources, it had been part of a larger, far more sinister plan. The Council had sought to unite the galaxy under martial law, using fear and violence to consolidate power. Earth's defiance, that single word of no, had unknowingly derailed this plan. By refusing to submit, humanity had exposed the Council's true intentions and sent shockwaves through the galaxy. But the twists didn't end there. As the Council crumbled, so too did their hold over the galaxy. The illusion of their absolute power, once so carefully maintained, shattered in an instant. The rebellion, sparked by Earth's resistance, spread even further. Entire species that had lived under the Council's rule for centuries now saw that their oppressors were not invincible. The member species of the Council, seeing their leadership fall, began to rebel or flee, leaving the galaxy in chaos. What followed was the collapse of the old order. The galaxy, once controlled by the Council's tyranny, was now in flux. But in that chaos, there was opportunity. Humanity, though not seeking domination, had changed the course of galactic history. Their refusal to bow had inspired hope among the oppressed and struck fear into the hearts of tyrants. In the aftermath of the battle, a new galactic council was formed. This time, it was not an empire built on fear and control, but a coalition of free species, united in their desire for peace and cooperation. Earth, now seen as a symbol of resistance and defiance, played a pivotal role in shaping this new order. They weren't conquerors, but leaders who had earned the respect of the galaxy. As the new era dawned, the once feared council was nothing more than a memory, its legacy reduced to ruins. In its place, a new galactic council stood, one that valued freedom, unity, and cooperation. Humanity had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, defiance and courage could change the course of history. The galaxy, once ruled by tyranny, now looked to Earth for leadership and guidance. The future was uncertain, but it was also full of possibility. With their allies by their side, humanity prepared to forge a new era, one built on the foundations of unity and hope. The galaxy was no longer in the hands of tyrants, but in the hands of those who had fought for freedom. The final image was one of peace, but also of vigilance. The dawn of a new era had begun, and humanity stood ready to lead.